welcome to Spaghetti Launchers, a world-building podcast where we throw spaghetti at the wall and it is up to you what sticks. I'm Kyle.
I'm Ethan. Today we will be discussing fantastical government departments.
The ministries of magic and
Vagaries,
might and
mediocrity. Those were very different directions that you and I just went in there.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I feel Ministry of Mediocrity would be pretty funny, though.
It's called the IRS. Boom! No, the IRS
Happy tax
IRS
season,
is
US
highly
citizens.
underfunded and should be highly supported because we need a good IRS.
We need tax rich.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can't.
Yeah.
Tax the rich. I think Harry Potter's kind of the main focal point for everybody on this kind of that conversation. The Ministry of Magic is
Ministry
so
of
good.
Magic, Department of Mysteries, Department of Muggle Affairs. Like it's just
It just lands. Everyone knows it. It's iconic.
and it's ridiculous enough while still
So
making
bad.
complete sense for the world.
Yeah. It's one of those great examples that
It makes as little sense as the rest of the world.
Yeah. But it's one of the examples people point to when they talk about Harry Potter world building not making sense is being like, Ministry of Magic just what?
Right.
They're just everything.
Right.
What do they even do? Why are they so important? I don't understand.
Right.
So like we don't need to really get into that one.
No,
but everyone knows that that's a touchstone. I was thinking about the video game Control.
I was going to bring that up.
You're gonna bring up
motherfucker. Yeah.
the Federal Department of Control.
Yeah.
Where they I don't even know what they do.
They investigate paranormal
That's
activities, breaches.
I didn't finish the game.
I didn't either. I got stuck on one boss. I couldn't beat him.
I thought the vibes were really interesting, very mysterious, pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's free on Game Pass. I might just play it again.
But it is a fantastic game. Mostly, like the vibes are really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's
paranormal.
It's paranormal, but also it's like Office Space meets Stranger Things.
That's a good description of it. Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. Well, and in the world of fantastical departments, I think the paranormal department is the most bog standard.
Yeah. I mean, Hellboy has like the Bureau of Paranormal Investigation and Research, I think it's called.
I mean, I assume I haven't seen X-Files, but I assume X-Files has fully got this shit on lock.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have the people who investigate the paranormal.
Men in Black.
Oh, yeah. Also, perfect example of that.
Perfect example. Yeah.
Yeah, like anything that's dealing with extraplanar effects is going to be in the fantasy genre. That's going to be like an obvious thing. Mm-hmm. When we were talking about this, and I was like, what even makes it? And you were like, just take any fantasy word and just put department in front of it. And then you started doing it in our text, and it made so much sense. It's like everything could just be a department. Right. And then it was like, well, then define the Department of Shadow. And you're like, oh, good.
It could be anything.
Yeah. And some of them are pretty obvious, like Department of Assassins. Like that's kind of obvious.
Right. Which is dope as hell, but also self-explanatory.
Yeah. And so we're gonna play this a little bit differently this week. We are not pitching an idea that we've pre-prepared. We are going to do a full improv. So we're playing with the form. Mm-hmm. We'll see how this works. If it doesn't work, we won't do it again. If it does work, we might do it again.
Because this was pretty fun.
And so we have a 20 item table of departments that Ethan has basically just taken subclasses.
Each department each of these 20 departments is inspired by a subclass from Dungeons and Dragons from across all classes.
Yeah.
There are 20 of them, and we have here
a D20. So what is going to happen? I am going to roll the D20, tell Kyle what department he is going to be describing, and he is going to We're just going to do it
live on the fly, create a world that would have this department and explain what the department does and why it exists.
Yep. And vice versa.
And then Kyle will do the same for me.
Yep. All right.
Ready to go?
Give me that roll.
All right. Rolling. 18.
Okay.
Department of Fiends.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Obviously, government departments, regulation.
Sure.
But they're regulating it very differently.
Okay.
Taking a strong book out of, strong page.
Strong book.
It's a strong book. It's a strong page. Out of
Mr. Strong book.
It's Mr. Strong. Who doesn't love the Mr. Men? A book. Nope.
Damn it, Annette.
A page out of Terry Pratchett's book.
Okay.
With his Thieves Guild. I'm going to say that the Department of Fiends is in quiet. They are not public. They are like, they have special clearances. People don't know what they're up to. It's very mysterious, very confidential.
Okay.
They are just working with fiends to help set them up with people who they can get pacts with. To say, we don't want you to be signing contracts with all types of people just on your own. We want to have a hand in regulating that. We'll give you people.
Right.
You can
we have happily enough political enemies.
Yeah, we'll happily give you our citizens to sign away their souls. But we're going to work with you to make sure that you do that in a reasonable manner with not too many people, keeping kids out of it. Like, make sure that they're of their own mind, preferably shitty people. Like, they're really working with them to regulate who gets into a pact with the devil or is somehow wrapped up with a demon, but they're really focusing on the devils, just to wheel and deal. They respect the law as devils.
Right.
This is a department of the government that also respects the law. So they do it in secret, fully. This is the deep state shit that people think that actually happens, except for
it actually does happen.
Except now it's actually happening.
What I like immediately, as soon as you said regulating deals, this department exists because some mortal very sneakily worked it into a deal or a pact that they made with a fiend.
I love it.
Like, they worked one over on them. They snuck it in there, like in the fine print, and the fiend didn't read it or something.
It's the founder of this department.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying.
Who was like annoyed at devils because they fucked over, say, their father.
Sure.
And said, fuck those devils. I don't want them to get away with anything more. I'm going to call them up. I'm going to get a deal, but I'm going to become a lawyer first. So I'm going to know how to, I'm going to know the fine print. I'm going to be the best fucking lawyer in the whole goddamn world.
Right.
You're not going to out-lawyer me, you dumbass Asmodeus.
Yep.
I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And then they just came up with the craftiest language possible. And then they got them to sign it, and then they were like, psych, bitch, now I get to regulate you.
Now you work for me.
And now you work for me. And then they've just got this Department of Fiends that's been running since then. And that's dope.
And I like the implication is that there are fiends within the department that are actively working to try and find loopholes in the original contract.
Yeah.
But that thing is airtight.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like, and maybe you could say that maybe they used magic to befuddle the fiend or something like that, but I don't actually like that.
I think it's got to be he outfoxed him.
I think he has to outfox. It's very much like a devil went down to Georgia kind of thing. Like,
well, and
like he did it. He tied it to a contest and he won. Like,
No. I think it should be that the devils assume that the humans are not smart enough to come up with language that could fool them. Because they're the loophole masters.
Nice. Good.
And this guy specifically worked at this for so long, and then they could have found it had they looked.
Right.
He's not
if they taken it seriously.
They have like otherworldly intelligence.
Right.
This guy was just, they took him for a fool. Yeah. And I love the idea that you threw out there just haphazardly or like off the
cuff.
There are devils working in the department. I think that's great that you have devils undercover, but not all that undercover because the department knows they're there.
Oh yeah.
But they like everyone kind of pretends like, oh yeah, Jerry's just a regular guy, and it's like we all know Jerry's a devil. Like everybody knows it. Jerry knows everybody knows it, but it's just like a fun game they play at this point. And they just like don't trust Jerry, like don't give him assignments that actually matter.
Right.
Or they, I think you could create a real push and pull, or to work there, you have to sign a contract with the department that is airtight as well, that says you have to do what the department is asking you to do. You cannot like be a double agent properly. So maybe they've tied them up in not so much. So Jerry actually just does work for the department with full loyalty because he can't, like, he signed the contract and he's like, well, I guess I just do this now. And you kind of like bring them over to your side, and then you've got like devils who are just like, this is kind of nice. I'll just live like a normal life. And then that's how you over time get tieflings.
Well, think about it. They get did not see that coming. Very cool. Very smart. Love that. Did I say A or one?
A.
B. I would love to have like a glossary of legal terms that suddenly take on hilarious new meanings. Like, imagine you have a non-compete clause in your contract, but all it means is that you go and like you get angry with one of your coworkers and you go to try and, you're a fiend, right? You're a devil. So you go and try to fight them, but you are physically and magically stopped because you have the non-compete. Like, you cannot challenge your coworker to any sort of physical, mental, magical competition or challenge whatsoever.
Yeah.
It forces it's not about next jobs, it's internal.
Yeah.
The non-compete clause is what forces mortal fiend collaboration.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, take legal terms.
Yeah. And change them up.
And change and like reimagine what they mean.
Yeah. I think that works super well. I think it's really fun. Also, if you're a lawyer and a DM,
yeah,
this is rich area to have fun with it. We in a campaign once had we wrote up a proper contract with the devil because we were making a deal, and we wrote it out. One of our friends sent it to a lawyer who like was a former colleague and who was bored at work and was so thrilled to look it over. And she gave us notes and was like, here's the language that might want to change here, but overall it looks good. And
I love it.
Like, really got into it. And that was such a fun use of a legal skill, which you don't get to use oftentimes for fun things, because it's usually like, hey, can you give me legal advice?
Right.
It's like, can you give my character in D&D legal advice?
Right.
Fuck yeah, I can.
Here's the thing with that as a singular department, though, you know, like there's the CIA and the US government theoretically has dirt on everybody, which could potentially make them the most dangerous department. You know, theoretically, even if they have dirt on the president, they could hold sway over the president.
Yeah.
Would the same thing occur with the Department of Fiends? Would they have outsized power and influence?
I don't think so, because it's still up to people to sign contracts.
Okay.
So they help channel the existing proclivities of these devils and say, you're going to try to go get people to sign contracts willy-nilly. Just go to the people who, like, don't go to these people like, who are you going to see? Let me review the list. Okay, they're all fine. Whatever. Go see them.
Does the leader, I'm saying president because we're talking about government.
Yeah.
Does the president have knowledge? Do they have final approval over who gets the deals?
No.
Do they know? Do they have plausible deniability?
No.
Okay.
They're not in the, like, again, like, the CIA does a lot of shit that doesn't have, like, the president's, you know, not involved in the day-to-day.
Sure.
You have the head of the Department of Fiends, who's a very powerful position that is like, you know, in a lot of fantasy, there's always like, it's the spy master is far more powerful than the king. Yeah. Like, this guy could be more powerful than the president or the king or whomever.
Yeah.
Because they have a role that can mean they can take out political, you know, opponents. But at the end of the day, they're not committing violence, and those devils need you to willingly sign a contract. So they might try to manipulate you, but they can't, but you can refuse. So
yeah, hand wave it. Say it's written into the original contract somewhere that like there is some clause in the original contract that the original fiend signed creating the department that limits them from exerting their influence over the leader.
Maybe that, but maybe not that. I don't think that should be that. I think it should be full. I think you should leave that on the table.
Oh, okay.
That's Chekhov's gun, Bubby. You gotta leave that in there.
Okay.
As a potential thing. I'm just saying, generally, the leader, if they have no reason to sign, wouldn't sign the contract. They would just say, no. Yeah. Fuck you, devil. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And they might, and that might be the end of that. You know, because any pact with a devil, you need to be willing to sign it, and you need to be in a desperate enough position where that devil can help you. So maybe the leader gets in that position, right, but then they're fucked in another way, and they probably will lose their position regardless.
Yeah.
So, you know,
because
figure it out.
Because a Faustian bargain never ends well for the person that signs it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So even if they would, and they would have the intimate details over how all of these other contracts have gone bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's sort of its own retroactive justification for not signing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig that. Are they constantly recruiting new fiends, or are like fiends immortal and they just have like a static set number?
I mean, I think that's kind of you just use the fiends. I'm using D&D rules for this.
Okay.
So, you know, they are basically immortal. I mean, they're basically static because they don't have huge numbers, and unless they die in their home plane, they don't die.
Got it. Okay.
So they just kind of recycle.
So you just have Asmodeus, who's been there. It's like it's been 10,000 years.
I will one day defeat this red tape. That's my attempt at the Department of Fiends.
Department of Fiends. I dig it.
All right, give me that cool. D20 and for you.
12.
Department of Vengeance.
Ooh, shit. Okay. So it would be really easy to just say that, oh, the Department of Vengeance is just another name for like the Department of Defense, right? Or Homeland Security or some equivalent military.
They do vengeance on behalf of the state.
On behalf of the state, right? It would be really easy to say that. And you could, and that would be a perfectly cool name for it.
Yeah.
To say like, oh, this is
very like righteous empire who's like, we go to war against people who have wronged us.
Right.
Everyone's wronged us.
And everyone's wronged us. And right. And fine. You could even build in a gimmick where maybe this nation doesn't ever preemptively strike. They only revenge. They only seek vengeance.
Yeah.
So the military is very strong and capable.
Yeah.
But it only is called into action after an attack is made against them.
Yeah. But you're not doing that.
But I'm not doing that.
Okay.
But you could. It would be perfectly suitable.
What are you doing?
So I think it's more fun for the Department of Vengeance to be not, I don't want to say it's a perversion of the legal system, but it is an application. It is a court system wherein you can take people that have wronged you. It's sort of like civil court, but civil not for big things. Civil for incredibly tiny slights.
Okay.
Against you and against society. Or not even against society, against you. I think it has to be personal.
Yeah.
Someone cuts you off in traffic. You can file a complaint with the Department of Vengeance.
Okay.
Someone even steals your package is already illegal. It's for things, it's sort of like inspired by The Good Place, in the point system.
Yeah.
It's
things that are just shitty behaviors, but they're not illegal.
But they're not illegal. But like cutting you off in traffic.
Like cutting in line at the bar, buying the last scone.
Taking your shoes off, socks and shoes off on an airplane.
Microwaving fish in a
and all of these things, you can file a complaint with the Department of Vengeance.
Yeah.
And if your complaint is approved, then you are granted immunity for one act of vengeance against them.
Okay.
Now it has to be commiserate with the impact it had on your life. So let's say someone cut you off in traffic. And you slammed on the brakes and maybe you got distracted and you missed your exit and you were 15 minutes late for work. Then you are owed, and you submit a claim with the Department of Vengeance. You can go, it runs up the chain. It is approved. You are granted 15 minutes of that person's life.
Okay.
And because it's magical, they know who, you just hand wave it, say, oh, it's magical. I knew that was Fred Thompson who did it. I found out, they scried or time traveled and figured it out. And
yeah. So does the person who you file the complaint against know that you filed a complaint against them, and thus they know that they're going to be inconvenienced by you at some point? Or is it they are surprised when all of a sudden they're inconvenienced and then somebody pops up in their brain and says, this was a justified vengeance.
This inconvenience was approved by the Department of Vengeance.
And you're like, fuck, well, I can't do anything about that. And then if you try to retaliate, that's not a sanctioned retaliation. Thus, they can file another complaint.
I think that's funnier if it's that way.
Yeah.
I think
it seems too bureaucratic if it's every time you have to go in like civil court and talk to them, and then it's not interesting. I think it's so much interesting if you go up and you file it, and an adjudicator just meets with you personally and interviews you.
Well, just
goes into your fucking brain
right,
because they have magic and like and are just can see, yes, that was inappropriate, and they can also see into that person's life who inconvenienced you and say, and they can see like, you know, like
it wasn't ignorance, it was like legitimate malintent. Like this person said, fuck you, I'm cutting you off.
Does it have to be malintent, or can it just be because it depends on the severity? Because say it's they bought the last scone and you really wanted it that day. That is a small thing, and all it means, the only thing you can get recompense for is similarly getting the last scone. Like or they go to buy a scone and it's and then like the cashier just throws it away.
Well, see, I don't think it has to be that. See, this is where it gets sort of magical and, again, a little bit like Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams, Neil Gaiman-y. It's not... You are not entitled to, like, take a scone away from them.
Yeah.
You could if you wanted to, but that moment of joy that was taken from you is what you get. So you get to take from them a small moment of joy.
Okay.
Whatever, if you want it to be taking a scone away from them.
But how do you know how to calculate it? If you're the one, like you're entitled to X, do they give you suggestions and say?
I think they give you suggestions. I think you get to choose from a list of pre-approved options that the arbiters.
I love that
the arbiters have
like,
gone through, because it has to be specific to the person.
Yeah.
Because if maybe they just grabbed a scone because they were hungry and it was the last thing they saw, and they're just like, "Fuck it, I'll try a scone today."
Yeah.
In that case, then taking a scone from that person wouldn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
But if they fucking loved gummy bears like I do,
yeah,
and someone took the last bag of gummy bears, well, that's a significant moment of joy taken from them.
So they like hand you a pamphlet that includes all of the approved options for this level of this level of severity for an inconvenience.
But that's all subjective to that individual.
Yeah. And there are like, say, like 5 levels of severity before you get into just an actual crime.
Right.
And they're like, well, that's not our...
And then there's a normal justice system.
Yeah.
That functions completely normally.
This is just for the petty shit.
This is just for petty shit, and it is equal in response. So, like, no one is going to... Like, let's say, you know, someone cuts you off in traffic and you missed the birth of your child and it was something big like that. Like, that would be out of this jurisdiction. Uh-huh. There has to be a severity cap where this is literally just dealing with frustrations, inconveniences, and aggravations that for which you seek vengeance. Yeah.
I fucking love it.
Yeah. That's it. And it's quirky, it's weird, it's fun. Like,
it's good. It's just a good time.
Yeah.
I think the use of it, obviously, in a book, it's like you said, it's very Terry Pratchett. It works well. I think it would be really fun in something like a role playing game where you are just doing something small, and then like you're having like a social scene and in a tavern, and one of your players gets some vengeance act against them, and they have no idea what for. They just get the little message in their head, and someone sends a message and says, "This has been brought to you, or this has been a pre-approved activity by the Department of Vengeance. Thank you. Have a nice day."
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. Yeah. And just to kind of like add a little bit of into your players.
It'd be a great DM mechanic if you could like force disadvantage on the roll, and then if it fails a check.
Yeah.
That might be too severe.
Yeah, I don't like that.
What about if you just used it as an excuse, like if they fail the check? It's like, I'm trying to, pick a lock, and I roll a 3. Instead of it being like, oh, you tried and failed, it's, you did everything right, and then at the last second, bring, this lock cannot be picked. This inconvenience has been...
Yeah, I don't think it should be a mechanical thing. I think it should always just be a narrative explainer to be you failed at a task that was brought to you by the Department of Vengeance. And it's a funny way. So like, say you have a player who's being cheeky and like playing around with like the world, and is like, I'm gonna fuck over a lot of people in this village.
I'm just trolling every
people.
NPC I meet.
Definitely not thinking of a player that we both played with who trolled like a motherfucker, because he's very good at it.
So funny.
He's such a troll.
So funny.
But in those moments, then saying, okay, you've given me several little inconveniences I can charge you with. So I will hit you at several points with a comedic little, this has been brought to you by the Department of Vengeance. And
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I think...
Have an unpleasant day.
I think they would still say have a nice day because they're like, your inconvenience is now done.
Yeah.
You've been inconvenienced. Have a nice day.
Yeah. The scale is back to level.
Yeah. And they don't want to tip it over. They don't want to say, now go inconvenience someone else. They want to send the message, you've been inconvenienced as recompense for something else. All is well now. Your karmic sheet is clean. Please don't add more to it.
Right.
And yeah, that's a great idea.
I like it because it's taken from the Oath of Vengeance Paladin, which is all about, punish the wicked. And if it's Batman in a subclass, right? And it's like, take that and turn it into something completely silly and pleasant and cheeky.
Yeah. Love it.
And I like that reversal.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that's that.
I think, and that's the episode.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So,
and no lightning round.
Emails in the show. I mean, we could do a lightning round.
All right, so we're gonna do a lightning round really fast here, with no prep, because we're not prepping this. Yep. So we're just gonna roll again, and we're gonna do it in a minute.
All right, I'm rolling for you, Kyle.
Okay,
3, 2, 1. Department of Alchemy.
They are we're using the other definition of alchemy. They are a department who is that is like subsume the Department of the Interior type thing, where all they do is go around and take mines and just like try to turn all the stone into gold. So they are just a part of the government that is just obsessed with trying to like make gold for the government coffers. They're taking over entire mines of just regular stone and like, I will turn it into gold. And
I can definitely do it this time, boss.
And that's all they do.
That's great.
All right.
I love it.
Roll again.
Nine.
Department of Champions.
Ooh, this is in a world where war has been completely done away with and replaced with a massive annual Olympic-style sporting event. And so the Department of Champions, all of the money that was once fed into war has now been fed into PE, into physical education.
So you're just making Olympians.
I'm just making Olympians, but basically it's an excuse to have an entire world full of Rocky-style montages happening at all times.
All right, there you go.
And that's the Department of Champions.
All right, what stuck for you?
What really stuck for me is the Department of Vengeance. My love of like minor curses and minor revenge.
Totally.
I love that. Like, I just absolutely love that. But if I had to pick one specific thing, it would be the fiends getting duped by the lawyer. By the mortal lawyer to create the Department of Fiends like that. Like, I think the way that you found a way to not make it about like, oh, we protect the planar barriers from fiend, blah, blah, blah. You're like, no, we're funneling the use of fiends here. And it all started from one incredibly smart, wily mortal.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's what stuck for me the most. Besides the inconveniences and I think we both have the same answers, basically. Yeah. But I also love the pre-approved list of inconveniences to be like, oh, here's what you can choose from to get this guy back. Yeah, I think that's great. And then the guy who formed the Department of Fiends being, the son of a duped man,
the son of a duping
the devils.
The child of a dupey becomes the duper. That was awful. Please cut that out. God,
I love it.
I hate you.
Why you hate me? You did it.
Because you're not going to cut it out.
No, I'm not.
God damn it. But yeah, I just think I like the story of that. I love and I'm imagining the statue, like a bust of that person that the fiends scowl at every day when they show up to work.
No, it's not a bust. It is a massive statue.
Yeah.
It's when you go into the Ministry of Magic and there's that huge statue in the center.
Oh,
it's that. Right. It's everyone has to pass this on their way to work, and
it's completely fire retardant. So they keep trying to cast fireball on it, and it just snuffs it out.
Yeah, it's just like no.
You
look at him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what stuck for us. Let us know what stuck for you. Emails in the show notes.
Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.